Hello and welcome to Angry Andy Reviews, and this is my review for The Brutalist.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy. Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews. Angry Andy Reviews.
Don't make me destroy you.
So, The Brutalist, starring Adrien Brody, Felicity Jones and Guy Pearce, is a movie of a Hungarian Jewish immigrant who comes to the United States following the end of the Second World War. He's a Holocaust survivor and he is an immensely trained architect who comes to the United States with dreams to rebuild his life. When he arrives in the US, he's taken under the wing of his cousin, who has already been living there for some time, and he is somewhat told immediately that his wife is still alive following the end of the war. It's a sprawling tale that encompasses many, many years, many ups and downs, many pitfalls, many disasters with Laszlo's life, that's Adrien Brody's character, and it's how you do a review for a 3.5 hour character epic is something that I honestly don't know. All I can tell you is that it is a sprawling epic. I think the characterization is superb. The acting is brilliant in places. Adrien Brody has a clear kinship for these kind of roles. I mean, he's done The Pianist in the past, which is another great performance set during the Second World War. He's an immense actor with these kind of roles, and you can clearly see him embracing every single aspect of this movie. Guy Pearce is great for his part as well, playing this businessman, this architect. He's not an architect. He's this man who has dreams of great architecture, for that matter, and he hires Laszlo to construct this grandiose building, having fired him some years before for basically just rearranging and updating his library. It's a great scene. There's a really great scene in and around that moment. And I'm not going to spoil anything too much because I think it's one of those films that you have to see it to believe it, really. It's, like I said, it is 3.5 hours long, but the amount of depth within that belies the time that it takes to watch this film. You're absorbed in every single aspect of these characters and what they go through, the amount of intrigue between them all, the pressures that they're under at every single point. The film is laced with greed and capitalism and sex and sexuality and sexual desire. It's also laced with, intoxication. These people are intoxicated by their own ideas and drugs, and it's such a sprawling, chaotic film in a way, and yet it plays a lot of things so subtly. It's almost hard, like I said, to really review this movie. It's an experience in of itself, and I'm not entirely convinced that I enjoyed it outright. I think it's one of those movies that is magnificent and in its splendor, in its construction, in its design. It's shot wonderfully well. There are some sweeping shots. The architectural shots are immense. But then we have these really intimate shots where we're brought right into these characters up close and personal. There's a lot of darkness in this film as well. The direction is absolutely perfect. You can tell it's a passion project for good and for worse. Does it border on a bit of self-indulgence? Yeah, it does. Is it disjointed at times? Yes, it is. But fundamentally underpinning this film is those performances, is those sweeping shots. I think without those, this film would not have the impact that it does. But it is an acquired taste, and I'm not saying it's an acquired taste of mine. I think it's one of those movies where you will either love it or you will hate it based on, fundamentally that time length. It's such a long amount of time to spend with a single movie. We've done it before. I'm not criticising the length as it is. We've done it before with movies. We've had Lawrence of Arabia, Cleopatra, fucking hell, even the Avengers Endgame took too fucking long to get on with stuff, didn't it? So it's one of those, I'm not going to sit here and criticize the time. I can only sort of, look at it in terms of the air of self-indulgence that I mentioned. And I think that is just to do with, how long it takes to get to certain points within the story. And I'm not entirely convinced the story is all that great either. But it's just those character performances. They're spectacular. Adrien Brody is such a great actor. Felicity Jones, for her part, is really great in this movie as well. And Guy Pearce, like I said, I enjoy Guy Pearce for a lot of his movies, for a lot of his efforts. It kind of goes under the radar a bit, for one reason or another. I'm not entirely sure. There is this weird sort of argument going on about the use of AI for dialogue elements, and I don't really know too much about that. I couldn't really tell anything watching the movie, and I wonder if that's going to affect its chances on awards. Who knows, really, at this point. But, we're accustomed to ADR. We're accustomed to, what musicians use, auto-tuning, whatever the frig that is. I'm not sure whether it falls within those same ballparks or not. I don't know. But it was used to enhance the Hungarian dialect, the Hungarian language, or something along those lines. I haven't looked into too much detail. And to be fair, if I didn't know before going in, I wouldn't have friggin' known. It's one of those things. But fundamentally, I think this is a film that, if I could have watched it in 2 parts, I probably would have done. There is an intermission in the middle, which I haven't experienced ever before. I mean, Lawrence of Arabia has an intermission in the film, but, I'm so used to just pausing that and going and making a cup of tea or whatever. But, it was bizarre. I think if I could have watched this film in 2 parts, I would have done, because it is that immense in not just the length, but in what it demands of you as a viewer. It demands that you're paying attention. It demands that you understand every single aspect from all sides of these characters. It's a challenging film. And I'm not even entirely sure where this will land, with general audiences or indeed with the awards. But those are my thoughts. Like I said, I can't really delve too much deeply into it without sort of delving into spoilers in terms of what happens to these characters. Suffice to say, they experience a lot, they go through a lot, having already experienced a hell of a lot prior to the film, with the whole, coming away from the Second World War and being Holocaust survivors. And surprisingly, the film doesn't really deal an awful lot with those aspects. It is coming towards, to America, and being an immigrant in these environments, having to realise the harsh realities of new capitalism, new ideas, and changes in that regard. So it is an interesting film to sort of see based on that. But yeah, there are a lot of scenes in this film which I think could have been, dealt with a bit differently, and that's where I sort of allude to the disjointed aspect of it and the self-indulgent aspect. But I wonder if you're going to see this movie. If not, I can't really give you anything more on that. But it is what it is. It's an interesting film. I'm glad I watched it. I don't think it's ever something I'll go back to, but it is what it is. But let me know your thoughts. Have you sat through this movie yet? Are you going to wait for it to appear on streaming or, the DVD, whatever it may be? Let me know your thoughts below. If you've got a spare 3.5 hours, 4 hours, if you include trailers, 5 hours if you include travel there and back or whatever, go for it. Go and experience it, because it is an experience in of itself. But there you go, that's my thoughts for this somewhat on the fly review, because yet again the computer does not seem to be working. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this. I'm going to leave this review there. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.